Hi, my name's Penny. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do a top 5 Wednesday video, even though it's not Wednesday. This is actually last week's top 5 Wednesday video, which I didn't get around to filming, but I did the prep. I planned out my list of books to talk about, so I'm going to talk about them. So the topic is top 5 redemption arcs. So I've got 5 books here, and actually before I get to the 5 that I picked, I also have a bonus book. So this is the Kate Daniels series, which I talk about a lot on my channel because it's one of my favorite series. This is a 10-book series, which the 10th one is coming out very soon. It follows a woman named Kate Daniels, who is this mercenary who also has a very interesting relationship with her father. This whole video is going to be full of spoilers, so if I start talking about a book that you don't want spoilers for, you need to just jump ahead because you can't talk about redemption arcs without giving shitloads of spoilers. So this one, there's no redemption arc yet, but basically Kate Daniels' father is this like super evil guy who just like conquers everyone and just kills everyone and manipulates them, and he's super powerful, and you're kind of being led for the whole series to believe that the end game is Kate Daniels killing her father, because that's what she's been training for years. And only one more book to go, but I personally, for many books, have been hoping for a redemption arc for her father. I just somehow, I don't really know how it's going to happen, but I somehow want them to end up having a good relationship and him to turn out to be not so bad after all, even though he's like kind of completely evil. Okay, so actual redemption arcs, not just ones that I'm dreaming of. Number 5, I would go with Thomas Covenant from the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, The Unbeliever. So this is basically a 3-book wrap-up. There's another kind of trilogy, which I also have the wrap-up of. It's been a long time since I read this series, so I'm definitely not remembering the whole story anymore, but I do really want to read this at some point. This series is really reminiscent of Lord of the Rings. I think if you are a big fan of Lord of the Rings, then you probably should give this series a go. I personally am not such a fan of Lord of the Rings, but I did enjoy some aspects of Thomas Covenant. It is still very thick and hard to get through, just like I found Lord of the Rings. But what this story does have is Thomas Covenant is essentially this grumpy old man who has leprosy, so he's really struggling with his health and he's having a really bad time. He's not a very nice person, and he ends up basically somehow ending up in this other world. Now, in the beginning, he thinks that this other world is a dream, and the first person he comes across is this young girl, and he rapes her, which is not a very nice thing to do. And he does all sorts of other not very nice things. But then he spends a lot of the books trying to make up for it, and eventually saves the world. Although he's never entirely sure whether the world is real or whether he's dreaming it. I like to believe it's real. There is just some really amazing world building in this series. I really would like to read it again at some point. That's why I bought this copy, because I've actually never read this copy, but I bought it with the intention of rereading the series. I don't know when I'm going to find time, because this is 1,100 pages, and so is the other trilogy. But I believe there are actually new books released after those 2 trilogies that I haven't read. There's no way I could read those new books without rereading the old ones, so that might take me a while. So number 4, I don't actually own, although I really would like to own this series because it's definitely a great series by one of my favorite authors, and that is the Darker Shade of Magic series by V.E. Schwab or Victoria Schwab. I can't remember what that particular series was released under, but I love Victoria Schwab's writing. She just creates such amazing concepts. In A Darker Shade of Magic, most people know this series, but if you don't, it basically follows this guy named Cal, who is able to travel between the different Londons. So there are 4 different Londons: Black London, which has been blocked off; White London, which is basically a really horrible cold place with not much magic left and everyone fights over it. It's horrible. Red magic is like really luscious and beautiful and lots of magic, and Grey London is our London. And we have one character called Holland. So he is also able to travel between the different Londons, but he comes from White London, and that has really set him up in quite an awful position. In the beginning, he is not entirely a bad guy, but he's definitely set up as not a good guy. And a lot of the stuff he does seems bad. But by the end of the series, again, spoilers, by the end of the series, I think you get a much clearer idea of why Holland has done a lot of the things he's done. And he really does get that strong redemption arc. That's what we're talking about, redemption arcs. And I actually think Holland's ending is the most emotional story in the whole series. Or at least it's the one that I felt the saddest about. So then number 3 redemption arc would be from the Mistborn series. Again, this is massive spoilers. If you haven't read Mistborn and you ever want to consider reading Mistborn, then don't listen to what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say completely blows the whole series. Just will ruin everything for you. So skip it. Skip it. I'll hold this until I finish talking about Mistborn. So if you've read Mistborn, then you know that one of the twists and turns in this series is around the Lord Ruler. So he's set up in the beginning as this bad guy who is basically taken over the world, and he's like a horrible dictator who's enslaved all these people. Through the series, it is revealed that actually maybe he wasn't entirely a bad guy, although maybe he definitely did some things that were bad, but it's revealed that he tried to make up for some things, and he tried to set things up to be better. I don't know why I'm resisting spoilers, since I just told everyone who doesn't want spoilers to go away. But that's one of the things I really love about this series, is just how it sets you up with particular understandings of characters, and then it reveals something that makes you completely change your mind about them. So for number 2, I want to talk about a character from the Throne of Glass series, and I am not talking about Selena. I guess you could argue that Selena has this whole redemption arc, since she starts out as an assassin and she ends up as, spoilers, but actually Selena's story isn't the one that excites me. So I used to own, I think, the first 2 or 3 books of the Throne of Glass series. And then I decided that I wasn't that into it and I would just continue reading it via library books, and I sold the books that I had. But then, I don't know which book it was, but Manon Blackbeak came along. And it's also true, the first book that Manon was in, I was like, oh, this is a bit weird, a different character that we're having to follow along with. I mean, I kind of found it interesting, but I didn't see how it linked in with the whole story. But of course, eventually you find out how it links into the whole story. But Manon Blackbeak is like this witchy, evil character who kills a lot of people. She's very brutal and vicious. But through the story, you also kind of see how much she cares for her 13 witches that she looks after, and how she's been kind of tricked by her grandmother and the rest of her other witch people. Basically, she's been led to believe stuff that isn't true, and she's really realizing this now, and she's just it's changing her quite significantly. And as well, she's just a total badass, and I'm really excited to see where the character of Manon goes in the next book, which is the last book. Whew, won't that be exciting? I really think so far her redemption arc is going really well, and I think the last book is really going to solidify that. Okay, so then number 1, I'm kind of cheating, but that is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series. This series has so many redemption arcs. Like, I can't even pick, well, no. If I had to pick a favorite, I would definitely pick Spike. He is my favorite vampire ever. But, like, so many redemption arcs. Willow, she has a redemption arc after she goes to Dark Willow. She has to redeem herself and find like a way to be happy with her magic use again. Faith does some real evil stuff when she's new, kills a human, has to like find her way back to being a good vampire slayer again. Of course, you've got Angel is like the classic redemption arc where he's like super evil vampire, and then he spends pretty much the whole Angel series trying to redeem himself for the things he's done. There's even some of the minor characters have these redemption arcs. So Andrew, especially in the comic book series, Andrew has quite a big redemption arc. And even Harmony has a redemption arc, which her character goes through quite a lot throughout the series. I mean, it's a really long series, especially once you include the comic books and the TV show. So definitely Buffy the Vampire Slayer series has to be #1 for redemption arcs. So those are my top 5 redemption arcs. I am sure that I have actually missed a bunch of really good ones because there are plenty, and I really like a good redemption arc. Still hopeful for that Roland redemption arc in Kate Daniels series. But do let me know if there are any other really good redemption arcs out there that you would recommend, especially fantasy and science fiction ones, of course. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.